This week's question comes from a parishioner, and it regards specifically the wearing of the chapel veil during Mass. And she has some very good questions about whether it's more proper to wear a chapel veil or to not wear a chapel veil. And apparently, there's a whole variety of understandings within the community, and so I'm very glad to have this question today. During the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is addressing some fairly common concerns in the community and potentially conflicts in the community. And he tells them specifically at the end of Matthew chapter 6, he says, don't worry about these things. Don't worry about what you're going to eat. Don't worry about what you're going to wear. And I think the subtext there is, and don't allow what you eat or what you wear to be a cause of conflict among yourselves. And like any other devotional, the chapel veil is a devotional, a sacramental, in the sense that it is intended to be a support to growing our confidence that God is who He says He is, and that we are who He says we are. And many people find that this particular practice of wearing a chapel veil, in fact, accomplishes those things in their lives. That when they're wearing a chapel veil during Mass, they feel more confident that God is who He says He is, and they are who He says that they are. There are other people who look at that and say, you know what, that's really not for me. And so I would encourage anyone who's contemplating the question to search their own heart and ask themselves, does this genuinely increase my confidence that God is who He says He is and I am who He says I am? And if the honest answer is yes, then do it. If the honest answer is no, or if the choice to do it or not do it is rooted in something other than in refining and deepening your own relationship with God, then just let it go. It's that simple. And so I would ask all of you to contemplate these same things. Search out those things in your day that result in you feeling more confident in God and in His understanding of you and His will for your life. Do the things that increase your confidence in God and in your relationship with Him, and ask God for the grace and the humility and the wisdom to let everything else go. And just on a more practical level, if you find yourself feeling distracted or diverted during Mass, if your encounter with Jesus is diminished in any other way, you can take the simple step of moving forward in the nave of the church. Now, there are several saints who record in their private writings, in their private prayer journals, that they would always sit right up at front, right up in the front during Mass, so that there was little or nothing between them and Jesus during that most sacred and most holy time in our lives. So, thank you again for your questions. Thank you again for your prayers. And as you go forward through this week, may you become even more confident that God is who He says He is. You are who He says you are, and so go and live the life that He calls you to live.